All right. Welcome back, guys. This is Coach Joe Bala of the Joe Bala Fitness Podcast. I have my next awesome, amazing guest here, Cody Rubel. He is from Croga Fitness. He's one of my coaches. I take classes at his gym here in San Jose. He has an amazing set of coaches that I've learned a lot from daily, and they keep pushing me to level up myself. And I'm just excited to have him on here. I brought him on because I want to talk to him about CrossFit, or share his story about CrossFit, what he's done with it, what he's doing with Croga Fitness today, and what we aim to do together in his space for the athletes that are based in San Jose. And we'll talk about that soon, but it relates to hybrid fitness racing, hybrid training. All right. So welcome, Cody.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. I appreciate you being on. So what I know about Cody, he is you're the CEO, right, of Croga, or owner?
I'm one of the owners. I have a partner who was the original owner.
Awesome. And so the gym that you have, Croga Fitness, is an amazing space. It's obviously one of the best gyms I've been to in the area in San Jose. And I'm energized and excited every morning. I get to show up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. sometimes because I want to get that work in. I'm tracking my data in Beyond the Whiteboard app. And then I see this leaderboard going on, and I'm constantly striving to get better because I see, members like Claudio, who is another guest I'll have on my podcast here soon, and his story will be shared. Claudio and I have done like High Rocks together now, DECA together, and Cody here has done High Rocks individual or solo pro, right? So Cody, if you wouldn't mind, could you share your I'm going to give you 1 minute to share your elevator pitch about Cody Rubel. You ready? I did this for my guest, by the way. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Well, I guess where I would start is I was born in Santa Cruz, and then ended up moving out into, I guess, what you would call like the sticks of California, in a little tiny town called Ione. Went to high school out there, ended up moving back out to Santa Cruz for college. A little bit of time in San Francisco as well, and then eventually ended up in San Jose. In college, my plan was to be a physical therapist, so I was going through school for that, and ended up coming to San Jose to attend San Jose State for their physical therapy program. Ended up not finishing it. At the time, I ran out of funding for school, so I was like, all right, I'll go back once I make some money, because I had a job, but it was like only enough to like pay the rent. So that's how I ended up in San Jose. I guess ultimately, started working for a company called Rock Tape, which I thought would be a good place to go since they are a kinesiology tape company, and they work with a lot of physical therapists. So I worked there for about 2 years, and then while I was there, it was located in a gym called CrossFit San Jose, which is not in business anymore. But eventually, I ended up actually coaching there instead, and leaving Rock Tape. And then from there is where kind of I decided I wanted to open a gym. So that would be, I guess, where it would kind of lead me to like what I do now. But in terms of like CrossFit, when I first moved to Santa Cruz for college, I was just working. I was living with my brother, and he actually got kind of like recruited by our uncle to start CrossFit. So I ended up doing that with him. The goal actually was to play some football instead at Cabrillo. But like I said, I didn't have a lot of money. And at that time, I was like, I don't know if I want to try that hard to like live, make money, play football, and try to like, I don't know, live in this like college life like that without very much money or very much time. So I ended up doing CrossFit instead, and then fell in love with it. Just never went back to football after that. And that's kind of where I started CrossFit. So then as we moved to San Jose, for school, I ended up just finding a new gym. Luckily, we had an old coach that came from Santa Cruz to San Jose and opened their own gym. So I was over there as well at CrossFit Almaden. And so that's kind of, I guess, where it started in Santa Cruz and then progressed over to San Jose. When I switched from rock tape over to just being a CrossFit coach, I needed a lot of hours to make money. So I ended up at one point working at 7 different gyms at the same time, a couple in San Francisco, and then most of them down here in San Jose. So got a lot of work in really quickly, got to see a lot of gyms, be around a lot of coaches. That didn't last long because that's a lot of traveling and a lot of coaching. So if you've been a coach, personal trainer, or anything like that, you know that being at 7 different gyms, that's a lot. Especially when you're putting a lot of energy into coaching people up and everything that goes into being a personal trainer or just a coach in general. So at one point, the old owner, or I guess current owner of CrossFit or Croga CrossFit, Dave, offered me a position as a manager at Croga. So ended up doing that. It was much more lucrative. Could be at one gym, which was like obviously a dream. So I ended up doing that. And then over time, just working together, me and Dave found that we worked pretty well together and got along, which is obviously important. We kind of started discussing me coming into ownership of Croga, and then over time it just kind of happened. So Dave still owns a little bit of the gym. He lives in Boise now, or Idaho, I guess, not technically in the city of Boise, but pretty close. So he's still kind of around. We still talk all the time. And, but for the most part, I am the one running the gym now. And yeah, that's, I guess, where it brings us to now here at this time.
That's amazing. I love that. I appreciate you sharing that story, because it says a lot about, like, I have a lot of like junior coaches that I'm, in process of building up as mentees, and like build them up, because that's the next generation. And I'm trying to myself be a quality coach to give them what they need as a baseline to grow into what they can be ultimately down the line. And so, like, being at your gym as a member, I can see, like, just from day one when I first went in there, my sister Cat, it's like, hey, come join this family workout thing. And that's kind of how she kind of tricked me, because I was going through my depression, anxiety stuff, and was not ready to, like, share my story about me being a coach. So I went in there like, okay. She's like, you're gonna have fun, just do it. And she saw me training in the backyard all the time, like I was doing my thing, and she knows my background with CrossFit, Spartan, DECA, in Olympic weightlifting, all that stuff. And she knew like, okay, once you get in there, you're just gonna light up. And she knew it and that's why I tell her thank you. And I say thank you to you. I say thank you to Coach Nick, Coach Carmen, Coach Devin, like everyone. Like, I'm grateful, because you guys literally lit a fire under me, and that fire is still, lit, and it's continuing to stay lit, and it's amazing, because I love being in that space that you've created, or you and Dave created.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So
thank you
for everything that you're doing. And the young coaches out there, young trainers, a coach like Cody, an owner like Cody, these are the coaches that you guys want to work for. These are the businesses that you want to, support. These are the businesses that you want to come, become a member at, but then ultimately maybe explore becoming a coach at or working for, because, they've gone through it. Like, they've done the work. They've done the like Cody mentioned, 7 different gyms. I think at one point I was doing like 6 different gyms, different things. I was driving up to like South San Francisco, all the way up to like Gilroy, Morgan Hill, and that's like 2 different directions.
It's a lot.
Doing this, right?
Yeah.
So I can appreciate what you're saying. And when you told me that the other day, I was like, man, that's the same stuff I've been doing. And I intend to one day own my own gym. And emulate what you're doing, what I see at other gyms I work at, and so, I appreciate everything that you've done and created, and definitely support, you and the other owners that I know 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So I want to kind of dig into your time, with a little bit about physical therapy, because I didn't know that that's something you pursued. Like what kind of in your, like leaving high school, like obviously going to college, you're like, you chose this path, right? And you said, I want to do physical therapy. That's interesting you say that, because I almost did physical therapy myself. And my wife told me, this is why I didn't do it, because she's like, you're gonna get bored. I mean, that's tough. I love the human anatomy part, the physiology, the biomechanics, all that stuff. And I used to be an engineer. I've shared that on my previous episodes here. And like, what kind of pulled you in the direction to want to pursue physical therapy initially?
Yeah. Well, I guess it starts in high school. So I played basketball in high school. I also played football and golf. So I was kind of always doing a little something. But in basketball, my junior year, I went up to dunk the basketball. Totally, completely missed it. But I was running real fast. So I went and grabbed the rim and like flew off. And then as I was coming down, I tried to put my hand down, dislocated my elbow.
Oh,
So yeah, it was fun. So I ended up going to physical therapy for that. And my physical therapist was awesome. And I really enjoyed him. And I thought it was super cool that he like helped me kind of get back to basically almost 100%. Like my elbow is completely fine. There's like, I think 1 degree less of range of motion than my right side, because my left side was the one that dislocated. But at that point, after I kind of finished up with him, I was like, oh, that was really cool. I would think I would really enjoy doing that. My thought behind it was like, I'm just going to be working with like kids that mess themselves up. So as the time went on and I was like in the physical therapy world, especially like with rock tape and working with a ton of physical therapists, I found that you don't really work a ton with like younger kids, which you can, but for the most part, it's like you're working mostly with kind of older people, kind of helping them get into like fixing things, right? Could be their back, or most of the time it's their back or knee or something like that. But that was kind of like what the majority of like physical therapy was. The good thing was like, as I was going through it, I got to talk to a lot of different physical therapists. So I got to see a lot of different styles. But as I was going through it, I kind of almost, like your sister said, it was getting a little boring when I was there. And I was like, yeah, we're kind of like doing mostly the same things and working on the same muscles. We're like working on stability and strengthening exercises, right? And that's cool. But I did enjoy, I guess, coaching CrossFit a bit more. So at that time, I was like, I think I'm just gonna end up doing this instead.
mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I got, I guess, away from it for the most part. Is I just enjoyed coaching people a little bit more. But I am very thankful for kind of being in that field, because it did help me a lot with like learning human movement, but also like maybe what should we be doing if something isn't feeling good, or why does this not feel good? Like, why does this joint hurt, or why is this joint unstable, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just added to a little bit of like helping me become a little bit of a better coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's important, because coaches can coach, or more like, I've been in classes where they're just kind of, I don't know if the right word is orchestrating, or more like cheerleading the class,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus like, okay, I see client A, client B, all the way up to Z, A to Z. They're all moving, generally doing the same thing, but then maybe client J is like you call me out on a lot of, which I appreciate, my deadlift. Like I'm too far forward because of my body type. I have a longer torso, And so you always tell me sit back more, get back more, right? And now when I deadlift, it feels different because I'm so used to kind of getting over the bar, and I need to change like how I've been training all these years, right? And I've been lifting since I was 12, so it's like that's a long time, and I'm 46 now. So
yeah,
gotta undo what I've been doing, right? And so like Coach Nick, he'll call me out and like on my, I don't know, say back squat. And this is something you told me too. Remind me of, you know, breathing through my diaphragm, filling my belly with air, making sure I'm like properly braced and holding that breath until I get out of the bottom position, right? And so, yeah, and that's why I love any coach that has done physical therapy or maybe is, pursued at one point, maybe switched careers. For me, like I'm a former engineer, so the way I look at people, I see like systems, and it's weird to describe it. Like I see a stick figure, and then there's like boxes. I see the head, I see the arm. Like I can draw a stick figure, and I can like see how everyone's moving and what joint is maybe not, working properly, or maybe the mobility is off, and that's kind of how I see things. And so that's why I appreciate you just sharing all that. That's amazing. So when you got into CrossFit coaching, you are a level 2 or 3 coach?
Level 2.
Level 2. So for me, I recently became a level 1. It's not called a coach, it's a level 1 trainer. My goal is to become level 2 coach, and then hopefully 3, because my body's breaking down. Obviously at 46 years old, doing CrossFit it can be tough, and just getting into what I do, obviously with Ninja Warrior, with Spartan, that Hyrox hybrid racing, I can only go for so long pushing the way I push. So that's why I want to dig into like more of the education piece, and like maybe stepping back from coaching so much the way I do and get into the education piece. So for you being level 2, I know there's all these CrossFit certifications that you can kind of add to, the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. So, if you had a junior coach, or like say a personal trainer, and they came to you like, Coach Cody, I want to become a CrossFit coach. What would you recommend for these young coaches that are coming up? Where would you want them to start, or where would you recommend they start?
I mean, if they're a personal trainer, I'm assuming they maybe have like their NASM or something. I would probably say if they want to be a CrossFit coach, definitely go to the CrossFit L1. It is I really enjoy that, I guess, foundational certification. I think they do a very good job, and the trainers are very good. Even the L2 is pretty solid. For the most part, what they do is they coach you while you coach, and do like, basically that's what it is. But I think that's a good foundational start. I think that's where you can go and just get like a good base. But once you're done there, I think the next step is honestly getting as much experience as you can, not just coaching, but getting coached by other coaches at other gyms. I do think that I was pretty lucky in that when I was at all the gyms that I was at, I would take the classes. And I was interested in being a better coach. So as people or as coaches would give cues and talk to the classes, I was paying attention, and I would pick up, a lot of stuff, right? So I think that it's important that like once you get like that foundational training, right? It's a weekend class, which is great. It gives you a lot of information, but after that, you need to make sure that like you're getting as much information from like as much different sources as you can. And I've talked to our coaches a lot about this. Not all the information is going to be good information, but it can all be useful, right? Whether it's like that was something I didn't like or something I do like, but like hearing people coach others is, I think, very important, and getting as much experience from as many different people as you can is like really important. Like even with my coaches, I will give them like 4 or 5 different Instagram pages to just have on their feed, and some of them are like for Olympic weightlifting, and some are some gymnastics, some are physical therapists, like people that I think that are pretty solid coaches, like in the space, or just good movers, or what have good advice.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that once you get that L1, L2, like start definitely exploring outside of those certifications, and start like getting coached by other coaches. The other thing I would say is don't be completely married to everything that CrossFit does. I do think that they have a lot of movements like Olympic lifts, or even some gymnastics where they teach it a certain way, and the experts in those fields teach it differently. Mm-hmm. So like be prepared to like go into other experts fields and take those certifications, or get coached by them, or take their classes. I think all of that's like really important. It's really just like go out, explore, get experience in movement, whether it be listening or doing. I think both of them could be very helpful. Yeah, but it's a long process.
Definitely, it's powerful, and some, enlightening that you say that, because I learned early on, like when I transitioned from engineering to personal training and eventually becoming a coach, like group coach, I was coaching like strength and conditioning and Olympic weightlifting, some powerlifting. Like I got exposed to some coaches that were my mentors early on, and they were like high level type coaches, and they, like you said, don't be married to whatever the principles are in whatever methodology you're studying, because there's different ways of looking at it. You kind of like shift your perspective. You can't just keep looking at it straight. You kind of look at it from an angle, or this angle, even maybe 20,000 feet above. Like everyone moves differently, and it's important that we acknowledge that, because not one methodology, not one type of training or movement is going to work for everyone, right? So that's awesome that you mentioned that. So I appreciate you sharing that. So your journey or in CrossFit, like, did you ever compete like as a competitor, like athlete in like regionals or anything like that when you did?
No, I did not. I did like train for a little bit to try to kind of compete at like a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really got to the next level for the most part. A lot of my CrossFit time, I would get hurt a lot, I think, in the very beginning. And it was just more as I didn't know how to take care of myself. For, I guess, like the first few years, I just didn't eat enough, honestly, to like recover well enough. Like I just wasn't feeding my body enough. At least that's what I would believe. And then after that, I had kind of already messed up my back a decent amount. And then I'd just be like overtraining, which again could be something as in like I'm not recovering well enough by not eating enough or not sleeping enough or whatever, or not managing just outside stress. So most of my career, I was not training super smart, which I also aid to helping me be a little bit better coach, because now I have a lot of fix it movements, right? So things that can help people with like back injuries or knee injuries or shoulders or whatever, because I've done it all. So I didn't really start giving it a good go until like 2019, which obviously, as you can do the math, it wasn't a great time to start, because then we were locked in our house like basically the next few years. So I started in 2019. I hired a coach from Training Think Tank, and then was training pretty hard. And I feel like I got pretty fit. If it was at a different time, if I maybe did that a few years earlier and was a little bit smarter a little bit earlier, I do think that I was definitely fit enough to make it to that next level if it was a few years prior. But at that time, people had gotten too fit. So I was just kind of like right there on the bubble. I would make the quarterfinals for sure. And then just kind of, I do decently in quarterfinals, but nothing close enough to get to like what they had now made the cutoff for like regionals or things like that. So I did compete in like some local comps. I made a couple kind of bigger comps, like bigger local. The fittest experience, I made it to that on a team, and did, man, I can't remember the other one, but there was another one too. At the time, I would say like those were decently big competitions, but nothing huge. So I do feel like I was pretty fit, mostly stronger than the average athlete, but I did train like an athlete for a little while, doing about 4 or 5 hours a day for a few years. And then honestly, as I started to own the gym and had a baby, those things, the training kind of slowly dissipated. So now I don't do it as much, but at the time I was trying to, just never made it. I will say though, my brother did go to regionals a few times, and he did a great job. So I had been around the space for a little bit. Also, Rock Tape always goes to like CrossFit Games and CrossFit regional stuff too. So, but yeah, never made it there.
Okay, I love it. Well, you touched on an important point, like being a coach, owning your gym, and then working on training like an athlete. That's a lot going on. Then you have, a baby. You're when you enter this, I don't know what the right word is, like chapter in your life, into becoming a father. I became a father at I can't remember now. My daughter's 19, but so I think I was 26 at the time. Nice. I was a young engineer, and then around the time of the transition, I was like 37, 38 when I became a trainer. She was then, I think, in junior high, maybe. Yeah, junior high. That's like a different chapter because you have a little one, and there's a lot of time. Like there's another coach I know. She's a run coach. Her name is Coach Irina. She's also a physical therapist. She said something about something very valuable that I am never going to forget. When you have kids, she said, she learned this from somewhere. She said, you only have 18 summers with these kids, right? And it's like, whoa, that's not a lot of time, right? Yeah. The time that you have with your son, like, is precious right now, right? And so I love that you're like being mindful, like, okay, I don't want to train like an athlete anymore, but I still want to maintain, maintain my strength, maintain my ability to move like an athlete. And I don't have to train as much and still be strong and still move well and have good mobility. And so having little ones, like tying into that, like being parents, I remember I hurt my back long ago, like as a breaker, formerly called breaker, not break dancer, by the way, people that are wondering. So breakers or breaking, you can break your back. So there's a move that I did back in junior high. I was in a battle against a crew. This was at Boys and Girls Club, and I was doing, if people are watching or listening, it's a windmill. So I'm like windmilling as fast as, at a high velocity. Like back then, I was so light and very flexible, very strong as well. I couldn't control the centrifugal force that was being applied to my body because I was just really mobile and really flexible and really strong at the same time. So, and I had a lot of speed. Sometimes they would call me Sonic. If people don't know who Sonic is, like, that's the video game character from the Sega Genesis days. And so during that battle, I clearly remember, and everyone heard it because the music was blasting, but then it was loud enough where they heard my SI joints pop because my leg pop like that. And I literally froze as I was like, I just stopped because I was in so much pain. And eventually I found my way back to my feet. I got out of the circle, the cipher, the battle circle. And my partner, my friend at the time, who I was battling the other crew with, I had to step out and just trying to like adjust myself. And I didn't know what I was doing, but that back pain, that back injury kind of stayed with me until today, like even today. And I got in a car accident at one point where I got sandwiched in and that made it worse. and there's times where my back has gone out just randomly. And so touching on that point, having a kid can be challenging because you pick up your child, your little one, and you can throw your back out pretty easily if you're not properly, bracing or being aware, right? And the kids, they don't just sit still. They're just like doing crazy like that, right? And so you just got to be ready, and your body has to be ready for all these different things. That's why I love CrossFit. That's why I love doing hybrid training. I love doing Spartan, because my body can kind of tolerate a lot, but there's moments where like my back will give out. And so I want to touch on that. Like when I first joined the gym, you saw when I think it was when I was squatting, I think it was you and Coach Nick. You saw something with my squat, and I think we were doing front squat that day. And you saw like from the side or from the back, like you're watching my core, like I wasn't breathing properly. And so could you touch on like, what is this thing about proper breathing that we need to be aware of as when we do barbell squats or any kind of squat? But then also anyone that deals with back pain, you gave me some, advice that I knew about, but I didn't really practice enough, and that was the big three, McGill big three, right? So can you kind of touch on those 2 points for those that are listening and watching?
Yeah, sure. So when I hurt my back, I had to figure out how to brace properly. So I was going around trying to figure it out, and I had some coaches helping me out as well. But one of the things that I've like really found with most athletes is when they're like breathing and bracing, they honestly just don't know what they're doing. So you can say like breathe and brace, like they just breathe and hold their breath, and like there's no tension going on at all, like in their like lumbar, like there's nothing, right? So for the most part, the way I look at it is like you have all your ribs up top, right? And then below that, until you get to your hip, it's just like mush in a spine for the most part, right? You got like your core, you got some internal organs, and it's just like your spine. It's like you just got to figure out how to brace that, because that's the part that almost always gets hurt and needs to be stabilized, right? So with like a ton of coaches and a ton of people that I've like either listened to or worked with, what I found is that like what we need to do is like as you breathe, try not to expand your chest, but expand your stomach, because as we can do that, we can create more pressure by kind of bearing that, like taking the air in, breathing, bring it into your body, bearing it down, so we can stiffen the spine. The way I usually explain it to people is like the air that you're taking in is going to be like packing peanuts, and you like just kind of shove those things down, right? So as you breathe, you try not to let your chest rise. You try to almost like expand the stomach a little bit out to the sides and kind of just hold it still. The other thing I've been telling people to do is like make sure your belly button doesn't move, right? So you're going to breathe into your belly button, you're going to expand out, and you're going to just brace it. And as you do that, if you're like a coach and watching, you can see the tension happen, right? It kind of like it'll stiffen up for you. And then as people move, if it's done properly, the spine will not move at all, right? So the big thing here is like breathe in, bear down, hold it so that you can like keep like what those packing peanuts are, hold it in there until you come out. What you will see a lot of people do is like as they're standing up out of their squat, which is the hardest portion of it, they'll just let the air go. And you can see it too. You can like see everything smashed together. And it's like, do you really want everything just like smashing in together? Or do you want to kind of create a little bit of air, make sure that it's like kind of pushing out, creating pressure so that there's a little bit more room there, right? Yep. So just a lot of work. Honestly, most of the time when you say stuff like that and tell people like this is what you need to do, so a lot of times it doesn't make sense to them. Like they just don't have that awareness. So like having people like take their fingers and push them into the side of their stomach and like push out into them can like help kind of teach them a little bit of like give them some awareness on like what we are looking to do. Or if you've ever seen, there's like a drill where you lay on the ground, you like put like a plate on your belly button and you like kind of breathe into the plate and get it to like move up and down, like breathe in, plate goes up, breathe out, plate goes in. But for the most part, long story short, breathing down, bracing, kind of pushing is like really important. Also, for people using like weightlifting belts. What we really want to do with those belts is like use them as a cue, right? A lot of people think you like take the belt and just squeeze it as tight as you can, smash everything together so it can't move. But really what you want to do is like put it on kind of snug and then like breathe in, push into the belt like you're trying to break the belt off. And it's like tactile cue. So then like as you go down, if you feel like looseness in that belt as you're going down, you're losing the brace, right? So a lot of people don't know how to use the belts properly. There's a reason why like when big lifters use belts, their bellies hang over. It's because they're pushing their bellies into it. It's not because they're just, I mean, it is because they're big, but also it's because they're like using it to like create pressure. So I guess, yeah, that would be the whole story on the keeping that stomach nice and braced and keeping everything, especially that low spine, that lumbar, protected.
Yeah, I love it. And what about, so for me, just sharing this, the back pain history that I have, you had me try the last time in one of your classes, the belt. I never really used belts before. I've been able to lift quite heavy at some point in my life, but then I backed off of it because I found like I don't need to lift that heavy to perform the way I want to perform in these kind of fitness races and endeavors I do. As long as I maintain some level of strength, I'm good. But there's times where my back will flare up. It was just like, boom, I feel like pain shoot up my erector spinae or my QL or whatever. And the people that are listening, watching, that's basically that low back area that like kind of surrounds your to the right or to the left of your spine and kind of like digs into your hip. So you had me, or you recommended I do some exercises to help build my core better, right? And so you told me about Big Three. So could you kind of touch on that? Like, how have you used it? How have you kind of recommended, your clients or members use it?
Yeah. So the McGill Big Three is like a core routine, I guess, of 3 exercises. It's something called a McGill curl up, which is kind of like a hollow hold for the most part. It's nice. I would look it up, but basically it will teach you how to like brace properly. So you would do that. You would also do your side planks to like get the lateral abdominals, and then also do some bird dogs. But for the most part, it is like something that a doctor created for people that have broken their backs before, like power lifters, and is like what they use to help them heal. And it's been huge. And a lot of like physical therapists that work with like people in the sports world use it all the time, right? It really just like attacks everything that helps stabilize your spine, like all the way around 360. So that is the one thing that like if people are having any kind of like back instability, like that's the one that I will send them, is that routine. The other thing that he has people do is he usually has people do a 15-minute walk 3 times a day to help with like any kind of like back injury as well. And he has them use their arms and swing them almost ridiculously, just a little bit more than you normally would in a normal walk. What he calls is like a brisk walk with a little bit of a extra arm swing. And I guess the movement side to side and stabilizing you with the arms going a little bit extra is going to help loosen up that back and what they call like hydrate it so that it's a little bit healthier, right? The way I like to think about most joints in general is like almost like a door hinge. If you don't use the door hinge all the time and like keep it moving, just like your spine, it's just not going to stay, I guess, like lubricated, right? So like if you stop moving it through a certain range of motion, that range of motion that's not getting used gets stiff, right? So in terms of like keeping the spine moving and healthy, you got to keep it going. So that extra walking after the stability work is also really important, just to like keep it mobile. A lot of people have like this thought that you have to always keep your spine stable on everything. And if you're lifting things, that is considered the healthier way to do it. But spines are meant to bend. So we have to make sure that we are strengthening it as it's like stable, like keeping it straight, but also moving it and also keeping it strong through like flexion and extension and any kind of like bending side to side. So yeah, the big three, if you're having any kind of back issues, like once it starts to kind of get a little bit functional, right, depending on how bad that back is, getting that McGill big three to help stabilize it and get it strong again, and then getting some walking in to like keep it nice and healthy, super important. So if you guys have never done that, you have back issues, if you have back issues for a long time, check it out. Really great series of exercises for your back. And just like I said, the best lifters in the world will do it. So, I mean, it's good enough for you for sure.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. No, that's important. Another one to add is like doing rotation or anti-rotation type exercises, right? So
there's a place for both of them, right? A lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say you can't bend your spine. Sit-ups are bad. It's like, we need to keep the spine moving. You don't want you don't want your spine to be one piece, right? Yeah. It's made the way that it is with all the different columns for a reason.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's so important because life is not strict. Life is like you gotta flow with it, right? And so that's why it's movement's beautiful because there's so many different ways to do it, right? All right, so I want to touch base on. So I'm looking at the clock. I want to be respectful of your time. I want to kind of lead into closing of our interview here and our discussion. So you've done Spartan Race before with the Croga members. Like you guys, I think you won the biggest team in 2018. I was there.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
I tried to beat you, but I lost. So, and then every year
I mean, technically you have the award now too, because it's at our gym.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes, I'm now part of the team, which is amazing. Thank you for inviting me to join and become a coach there. We want to talk about hybrid endurance. That's a new class that we've introduced to the Croga members, the soon-to-be Croga members that are going to be joining, because I know they will. We're introducing DECA because I am the DECA affiliate. And there's people out there that do high rocks or any kind of hybrid type fitness racing. So what is hybrid? It's basically a combination of running with strength, with conditioning, and this stamina, endurance, all the above. And it's ultimately a really good test of your fitness because, CrossFit's one thing that's completely different, but it's very complementary to what hybrid is doing. And then it kind of takes this element of Spartan Race and all the other kind of obstacle course races out there, OCR for short, and they just brought it into this like gym environment. So we were able to utilize like what's available inside the gym, whether it's a rower, skier, air bike, boxes, kettlebells, dumbbells. What else am I missing? Med ball. Even barbells, right? So I recently hosted a DECA Atlas event where people came and, members that were, or clients or non-members even that were CrossFit, based athletes or hybrid athletes or strength athletes. But this concept that we're introducing to Croga members and anyone that's interested in San Jose or around San Jose is the endurance piece. Like, how do we want to build better athletes that can do longer amount of work, endurance work, stamina, right? And so DECA is a big component to that, as well as high rocks. We can kind of say high rocks, but hybrid is what we're going with, right? The goal ultimately is, again, to get people to do these races together, kind of grow the community and challenge their abilities with movement, but also build some grit, build some mindset shifts so that they can do better, bigger things, take themselves and get out there and do other things outside of just doing the gym, right? So can you touch on like the concept, like what is hybrid endurance at Croga Fitness for those that are watching?
Yeah, I mean, so for the most part, you kind of nailed it. It's going to be kind of like, so what I call like a DECA or a High Rocks is kind of like a fitness race, right? Because like Spartan racing is like OCR, like obstacle course racing. I guess the difference is instead of like obstacles that you got to run through, you got like a fitness obstacle for the most part, right? You got to do 20 reps of this or like 100 meters of that or whatever, right? So what we've seen is a lot of people are really enjoying that style of like working out or event. So what we were thinking is like, let's give it a try and see if our members would really enjoy a class that's more like geared towards that like fitness race, like a DECA or a High Rock, so they can, because a lot of people are getting into that. And honestly, if people are motivated and want to do events like that, like I want to promote it as much as I can, because getting people moving and excited about moving is like what we need to do, right, to keep people healthy, right? And if their motivation is doing a fitness race, then I don't want to be the block in that, right? So offering it so that they can get a taste of what it feels like 3 days a week of like cardio mixed with weights, you know, a little bit more specific to like our fitness races, then I mean, that's what we want to do. And even if you don't want to do those races, it's a longer workout. You're going to get some cardio in, you're going to get some weightlifting in. I mean, we're going to be touching on everything that you would need to be a healthy human, whether you want to do one of those races or you want to just play with your kids. So that's, I mean, our goal is to like just provide another class that people hopefully are excited about and want to come to, so that we can, again, just keep people moving.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the potential of where this is going to head, because, you know, San Jose, we don't have a lot of hybrid, you know, fitness training. You know, it's still fairly new. I know DECA was introduced in 2018, 2019. Then the pandemic hit, kind of sank for a bit. Then it came back strong, offering DECA Strong Mile and in the gym setting, and then DECA Fit in the kind of bigger convention, you know, Spartan level produced events. And then High Rocks as well, kind of around the same time frame. That's more of the bigger convention center kind of space. And we meaning me, you, Coach Taylor, Claudio, who's a member, Rob, who's an amazing athlete who teamed up with me for DECA Mile. Thank you for pairing us up, because he pretty much pushed me to the brink. And then who else was there?
Andrew, CJ.
CJ was there. And we had Croga members there too, just cheering us on.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. This is kind of the experience that you're going to feel, especially those that are listening, watching. Like, if you've never done a race, definitely try one of these hybrid type of races, because, you know, you go to class, you're working out, but really you should shift your mindset about working out. It's really, you're training with a purpose. You're training for a reason to do something more with your body, the body you're building, so you can go out there and like challenge yourself, inspire the next generation, inspire your kids, things like that. So it's really, really important to always have something on your calendar to give you purpose. And Claudio and I talked about that a lot early on when he and I first met, because he invited me to try High Rocks doubles with him. And I'm big into Spartan, I'm big into DECA, and I was like, I was planning to do High Rocks actually solo at one point. I just didn't have the time or bandwidth to fit it in, and I was still kind of battling my depression, anxiety. And so when Claudio asked me, and he was like, he found out I love DECA and Spartan. He's like, all right. He didn't know I was a coach yet.
None of us did.
You guys did, right? And so, because I didn't think it was important to share that, but then finally, when I found confidence in myself again, getting out of my depression, anxiety, I was like, okay, I'm ready to share this. Claudio soon realized, like, okay, this guy actually knows what he's doing, and I'm actually, you know, paying forward everything I've learned, so I can, you know, bring that to more than just a Claudio, more than just anyone I meet elsewhere. It's really, I want to bring it to Croga and the community and get more people in there, because there's so much opportunity with this space. So with that said, for you, what are your plans for yourself, like in your fitness journey, maybe race journey, endeavors, anything you want to do? Is there something you have planned for yourself in 2025 or next year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't have anything like planned at the moment, but I will be getting some things planned out. So I guess the closest one coming up, and I've been trying to figure out which one I can come to, but you have some DECA events coming up, April 26th and April 27th. What is the first one? Is the first one strong and the second one is mile, or is it?
Mile is first, and then DECA strong is second.
Okay, so gotcha. So mile on the Saturday and then strong on the Sunday.
Correct.
So I'm gonna be coming to one of those. I'm trying to figure out my schedule at the moment, but that's why I haven't signed up for either one yet because I don't know which one I can yet. So we're gonna figure that one out, and then I'm gonna come to one of those for sure. And then I'm just gonna wait until High Rocks hopefully comes to the Bay Area at some point, and then I can do another one of those. I think I'm done with the individual. I think the team's gonna be more fun, so I'm gonna do that one. Yeah. If I get really into it, I'll do it more. The big thing is I need to run more. So I need to start doing that. That was my big issue there is like I don't really run very often, especially by myself. Yeah. Like as like an extra thing, like I'll run once or twice in the class workouts, and it's like that wasn't enough for 8K. So in between some stuff. So I mean that's what I got coming up is the DECA. Any kind of other DECAs that you do later on, I'll try jump in on one of those as long as my schedule permits it. But that would be, I guess, what I have coming up. One thing I was thinking that I didn't touch on that I think is important for a lot of new coaches. So sorry, I'm taking a little turn here. We were mentioning how we had no idea you were a coach as you came in. I think for coaches that are trying to be better, and we talked about like not being like set to like one like I guess form of education, being a coachable person as a coach, like when someone that's a coach tells you to try something or do something, it's super important to do it. Just give it a try, right? Just see how it feels. You give it a good try too, not like one rep. Like, I mean, like really give it a good try. That is something that I think a lot of people, a lot of like newer coaches have trouble with. And I think that's what we need to try and be a little bit more open-minded for a lot of coaches, because some are very stubborn. Like, I'm not going to do this because that's not how I was taught how to do it. And it's like, well, give it a try, see how it feels. If you don't like it after a good try, like dump it. You don't need it, but like don't totally dismiss it before you try it. Because I think I see that a lot with newer coaches. Yeah. And I think what, like you were saying also earlier, is like not everyone is built the same. Not one movement is like is going to be like a all one size fits all type of thing, right? Everyone is different, built different, has different injuries, has different pasts. Like you're going to need to coach individually to get these people moving to their best potential. So like being coachable and like maybe feeling what this coach is trying to tell you is going to be important for your progress as well.
Love that. I appreciate you touching on that, because that's so important. Being a coach, you got to be coachable for sure. I'm very big on the coaches need coaches too, because what we've learned up to that point until we met a coach that we're being coached by may not have been the right fit, may not have been the right match for how we're moving and how we intend to move and for the given stimulus of the workout, right? So and like I touched on earlier, the deadlift, I've been doing that for years. Yeah. And Cody is like pointing it out, and so is Coach Devin. Like Coach Devin has me making sure my hamstrings are active, and I never really thought about that. Like he had me one time hold the bar, but then have my hips up and like extend my hips up so I feel that stretch in the hamstring, come back down, then I lock in and then I stand. Like that made a huge difference too, other than the shifting that you had me do sitting back on my heels more and butt back, right? So I'm continuing to work on that daily, even just basic movements that I do. I'm like trying to be more mindful, like getting all those other muscles going, because my body got really smart over the years to protect my back, and there's a lot I need to continue to work on, right? Including working my glutes, because a lot of us don't have really strong glutes because we don't do glute training, right? All right. I want to wrap up here. I want to talk about our close up with these 5 quick Q&As. Are you ready for these, Cody?
Oh yeah.
All right. Awesome. So I do this with every guest, everyone I talk to. So the Q&A is basically simple, short answer. You can say yes, no, true, false, or just one quick line or a short answer. Okay. Okay. So being an athlete, being a coach, someone that has done Spartan before, that has done High Rocks now, or and then you're a gym owner, so you're looking out for your members, your clients. What's Cody's go-to power breakfast?
Ooh, man. Well, if we're working out, I can't have too much acid. So oatmeal with peanut butter and frozen berries and a protein powder.
Love it. That's similar to what I do. Yeah, instead of peanut butter, I put almond butter. No.
Oh yes, very nice.
Yeah, amazing. So if an athlete needed to have a go-to drink, to perform better, so obviously there's things out there like hydration related or electrolytes, things like that. What's your go-to drink to recommend athletes use?
Depends on each one. I'm just gonna go with Gatorade. I think a lot of people just need more carbs.
I love it. Yeah, because people are just crazy about these macros, right? And not being mindful that they actually need energy.
Yeah, we need to perform.
Yeah. If Cody had to identify himself with a superhero, I don't know if you're into superheroes, Marvel, DC, whatever, or even just what superpower would you want to have as a coach, or trainer or athlete? Like which one? What would that be, or who would that be?
I'm just gonna go with the Hulk. I mean, unlimited strength. Yeah, that would be sick. Also, I can jump 2 miles or something. 2-mile broad jump.
That's awesome. 2-mile broad jump. That's amazing. Imagine. That's funny you say that, because Claudio, when I interviewed him, he said his superhero is Incredible Hulk. So yeah, that's amazing. So I'm gonna have you both painted green the next time we do a high rock.
I love that. Yeah, I can see him as a Hulk for sure.
Yeah. All right. If you were to have or define a bucket list goal, assuming you don't have one, or maybe you do have one, what would that be for yourself in your lifetime?
Ooh, bucket list goal. Travel all of Europe.
Ooh,
I would say.
I love it. Is there something somewhere specific in Europe that you really want?
All of it. No. Yeah, I just kind of wanted, not just one place in general, any place out there would totally be fine. But I just kind of want to get the experience of just seeing how they live out there and the different cultures, and just I would love to be out there. Also, usually the food is a little better. So
love it. Yeah, I have family in Germany actually, and I've yet to visit them. So when I visit them, I'm gonna go explore Europe.
Yes.
Okay, last question. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna be totally random.
Okay.
I try to be random at the end because it kind of puts you on your feet. What is your longest handstand walk, and when was that?
Dang. I'm not sure. My longest handstand walk. I think 30 meters was the longest handstand walk that I can remember. There was a time I was doing the Movember fund that I do every year. Instead of burpees, though, for every $1, I did a meter of handstand walking.
Wow.
So it gave me $200. So I went out to I can't remember the school, but I went out to a high school and they had a turf field, and I was walking up and down that, and in the beginning I got 30 meters, or I guess 30 yards, I guess technically. And then after that it was just sadness. It was 1 to 2 yards at a time for up and down this field. But that is the longest that I think I've ever done, and that was COVID. So that was like 2020 or something like that, 2021, one of those years.
So that was when you were your fittest, right? They were training.
That was when I was getting to my fittest. I was I was on the way up on my prime.
Okay, so it could have been, if you continued, you could have been longer, right? Maybe a football field, probably.
Oh man, yeah, maybe. If I'm gonna say the one weakness that I had as an athlete forever, it was always overhead pressing. And handstand walking fell right into that. Just the stability of it, I would just crumble. So that was always the hardest portion for me.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah, I remember was it 2 weeks ago we did handstand walks, and
yep.
I haven't done those in a while. Maybe prior to that, Coach Nick had us working on that one time, and I get a lot of joy from that because that reminds me of my breakdancer days, because that was kind of like a requirement for us. And in our case, we'd spin around like this. So, but yeah, the workout involved, I forgot the distance in the workout, but we had to go from one side of the gym to the other. And Coach Carmen was, coaching that day, and she's like, "Joe, you got this." And it was one of the rounds where I almost got across the room, and I kept working towards it. I was getting not frustrated, but like really motivated even more every round, every time we came back in. I think we were running that day too, so that was like not a good mix for me, but
that's good. That's like 40. I think the gym is like 48 feet long or something like that. So you probably did like 40 feet.
Yeah. So I felt pretty good. I was like, all right,
that's awesome.
I got this. So even though I have this injury here, the
2S
thoracic outlet syndrome, but yeah, it's doable. So those of you that want to experience what it is to handstand walk or learn how to handstand walk, come to Croga Fitness, because you're definitely going to learn that at some point on.
Yeah, we can help you with that.
Absolutely. So wrapping up, Cody, how do people reach you? How do they follow you? What's Croga Fitness Instagram, your website, and your personal Instagram, and so on?
Yeah. Well, my personal Instagram is just Cody Rubel, one word. And then if you want to come to our gym, crogafitness.com, our IG is Croga Fitness. So yeah, if you guys are interested in just at least like coming and trying out a class or reaching out to me for any kind of like help, there you go.
Awesome. Yeah, and just to be clear to everyone that's listening, because they may not be watching too, Croga is spelled Croga, Croga and Fitness. Check it out. Amazing gym. I'm a member there. I love it. I continue to go as many times as I can during the week. They have a really, really great team of coaches and members and community, and come through, because hybrid fitness is going to grow and climb and have a bigger reach. So don't miss out. Come through. The classes there that I'm coaching are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. Assuming this thing blows up, we might add more classes. So request them, send them to Cody. He'll take note, and then let's see what. So, Cody, appreciate you being on here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Any last words before we end your interview? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Not really. I guess come check out our hybrid class. Joe's doing a great job. You guys will. I mean, if you guys have already been coached by him, you know how great he is already. So, but other than that, no. Thank you. I just appreciate you having me on here and talking. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again.
Appreciate you. Yeah, we'll definitely get you back on here at some point, because we got to update everyone on how this hybrid endurance class is going to go. So thank you.
Come check it out.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Buddy. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And